Hi, welcome back to Mind Control. Hope you enjoy the video.
This coronavirus is bigger than 9/11 or Pearl Harbor or anything we've ever seen before. And on the biggest picture of all, the coronavirus and the coming crash, financial collapse possibly, marks the end of the industrial age and the beginning of the information age. It's a very big move. And the people that are in trouble today are people still stuck in industrial age thoughts. And let me give you an example. The reason London Real and Brian Rose is doing so well is you guys moved on. I moved on. Rich Dad moved on years ago. The people that are having a hard time are called BBC, NBC, CBS, because they're still industrial age and they're going to get crushed. So that's why I'm very happy to talk to you. I love your program. I love your guest because we've moved on. The people that are struggling financially haven't moved on yet. Those of you at home right now who are sitting going, but I'm going to lose my job, my house, my pension, and all this, it's because you're trapped with old thoughts. And as most people know, is that, when I came up with Rich Dad, Poor Dad 20-something years ago, mainstream media crucified me. They said, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you don't know what you're talking about. I said, the rich don't work for money. Savers are losers. Your house is not an asset. And I was crucified, just crucified. And the good news is, as several of your guests have said, the most important thing you can have right now is not job security, but meaningful work. So you and I don't need the money, but our work is meaningful. And it's our meaningful work that gets us through the hard times. So the good news is my company is sold out. We cannot keep up with product. The bad news is the supply chain shut down, but that's a good problem. We have tons of cash. I have gold, I have silver. And I do have challenges in the real estate market, but that's going to make me stronger. That's my only attitude I can have. Otherwise, I just cry and say, well, the government should take care of me. I need a bailout. I need a stimulus. And Brian, you and I know stimulus means welfare for the rich. When I talk to young people, which drives the school teachers, I don't go back to schools anymore because I'm not politically correct. You know what I mean? Okay. So when I used to go to
school. That's why we like you, Robert.
Yeah. So I went back, so when I would explain the Fed to them, I said, well, just think of Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. There was the Tin Man, there was a Straw Man, and there was a lion with no heart. And so they thought they could go see the wizard, and the wizard would give them what they asked for. So they prance along the yellow brick road, and they pull back the curtain, and it's a midget back there. This big illusion. And that's Ben Bernanke, Janet Yellen, and this guy Powell, and before that was that other character, I forget his name already. But everybody thinks they're wizards, but they're controlled by grunge, gross universal cash base. Our wealth is stolen via the money we work for. We need financial education because the real problem of this crisis started back in 1904 when the richest guys on earth took over the education system in the United States. They formed a thing called the General Education Board. It was formed by guys like Rockefeller and J.P. Morgan. And what they pulled out of education was financial education. And so the reason they could rip us off, as you and I know, is via the mechanism of money. And that's why I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It was a warning shot across the bow back in 1997. I said, wake up, something's coming down the road. So we're here right now. This is the biggest transformation in the history of the world. It's from industrial age to information age. Brian Rose is doing well because you made the transition. I'm doing well because I made the transition. I'm making more money than ever before. I have problems, but I'm making more money than ever before. But if you're losing money right now, the problem starts in what you were taught in school. Because they never taught you anything about money. They never taught you about a financial statement. Like my rich dad did, they teach you that diploma is everything. It's a piece of toilet paper. BS.
And you buy into that mechanism of money, and you believe that is the only thing to focus on. And what you're saying right now with these stimulus packages is all of this money being given, quote unquote, away by the government to everybody is actually devaluing your dollar, it's devaluing your pension, it's devaluing your savings, and it's wiping out businesses. So it's you're dying by this sword.
This is how what Fuller talked about, the prison is inside our head, Buckminster Fuller. It starts with misinformation and misorientation. Misinformation, misorientation. And he says, how dare our schools punish kids for making mistakes? How else do you learn if you don't make a mistake and learn from your mistake? He says, God designed us. I'm not really religious, I'm not preaching here, okay? God designed us to learn by making mistakes. For instance, a baby learns to walk by falling down. Baby learns, to ride a bicycle by falling off the bicycle. Tiger Woods, the greatest golfer ever in history of the world, because he made more mistakes than you and I did. But our schools punish you for making mistakes. 2008, it was, those credit default swaps. It was for residential real estate, so they bailed them out. This next crash is for the hedge funds and private equity that invested in all this commercial real estate. So I have another $100 million project coming out. I just got bailed out. I just got backed up by the Fed and the government. So that's why it's socialism for the rich. Unfortunately, there's capitalism for the poor middle class, those that work for money. You're on your own.
Right.
If you own a small restaurant and you got to let go of your staff, you're no different than your staff right now. The national debt for World War II was $25 billion. Every day today, they're printing $125 billion. Every single day, that's like 5 World War IIs per day. They're printing so much money to keep this think of a hot air balloon with a tear in it. And they're doing desperately trying to fix this tear, but no matter how hard they try, the tear has gone beyond, it's coming down. So in financial terms, it's called our debt to GDP has now gone from 60 to 90 to 105, it's going to 120. We're bankrupt. And they're going to print more and more money, which means savers are losers, just as I predicted. Your money is going to be worthless in a few years. Wow. So my message is the same as some of your other guests. This is metamorphosis time. Financial education, in Rich Dad's terms, is really financial transformation. And the definition of metamorphosis is very important. Metamorphosis, the definition is the evolution or the transformation from an immature form to an adult form. An immature form to an adult form. Metamorphosis is the same as a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. And Fuller always said there's nothing to predict a butterfly inside a caterpillar. So everybody listening right now, if you're struggling financially, just think of yourself as a little caterpillar. And this crisis is your cocoon. The question is, what do you emerge as? Do you emerge as a victim? The world did that to me, and the capitalists are crook, and the rich are bastards, and all this stuff? Or do you say, oh, this is the best thing that ever happened to me? The choice is between your head, your heart, your body, your mind, your spirit. That's where the choice, the metamorphosis, the evolution or the transformation from an immature form. Mommy, daddy are going to take care of me. Mommy and daddy are going to pay for my education. The government's going to give me Social Security. I have a 401k. My employer is an asshole. You're going to evolve from that into an adult. That's metamorphosis.
It does sound like a little kid.
If you grow up mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially, and health-wise, voila, this is the best thing that happened to me. But if you're still a victim, you're not going to make it. The metamorphosis begins when you look in the mirror. And it's just like when I was going to blow this little boy's head off in Vietnam. I said, why am I doing this? Why am I going to kill this little 10-year-old boy? Now, he was a Viet Cong. I was justified by the rules of engagement to shoot him. But one day I wondered, why am I doing this? And if you're standing in front of the mirror today, with this coronavirus and looming depression, how did I get here is the question. What don't I know? What did my information, education, cultural background, what did not prepare me for today? That's where the transformation or the metamorphosis begins. You take responsibility. Everybody talks about rights, but we have personal responsibilities too. And unfortunately, our university systems have failed us miserably. And the reason for that is every professor wants tenure. That's my whole family. That was the most important thing about getting a job, was tenure, job security for life. And that's what they teach kids without knowing it. They teach kids that life is dangerous and you need to be protected. So they're immature. College professors are some of the most immature. They might be very smart mentally, but immature financially. They can't take care of themselves. So they're teaching kids to be victims. That's why these trigger mechanisms, and you can't say words that are hurtful and all this stuff. So they're teaching that you're a victim, you're vulnerable. And what you teach and what I teach is that, hey, don't be a victim, be proactive.
Can you just talk me through a few asset classes and explain kind of what's going on? Because I still think it's important for you to walk us through some basics, Robert, and whether that's real estate or oil or gold and silver, which you call God's money. Maybe you can give us all just a quick education on kind of some of that stuff. And I also heard you talking about something called the US crypto dollar. I don't know, maybe you could define some of those things for us, right now.
Well, gold and silver were here when the earth was formed. Do you know what I mean? It'll be here long after we're gone. It's God's money. God made it. And in our language, it's called counterparty risk. There's no counterparty risk. Your counterparty is God. That's pretty good. That's like a co-signer is God. The banks will back you up. Oh, who's your co-signer? Oh, Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad. Okay, we'll give you the money. So gold has that. Now gold goes up and down because the gold market is manipulated. The futures market, the ETF market, GLD, SLV, and then physical gold. So the thing I think is interesting is the price of gold goes down, but you can't buy any gold at the physical market. So the futures market is coming down, the GLD price is coming, the paper market is coming down, but physical, you can't get anything on it. Why? It's because the rich are hoarding it. The rich are hoarding gold and silver like toilet paper and guns. The poor and middle class are calling their financial planner, and the financial planner is telling them to stay in it for the long term. And meanwhile, the rich are getting out. Wake up is my message.
I want to know, when was that moment for you where you drew a line in the sand and was like, okay, I need to fucking scale this thing up.
2010, man.
Yeah, and tell me a bit about that.
Economy had crashed. I had 3 companies at the time. 2 of them got one of them got 90% of it was just okay. Everything was left on it but the head, maybe.
Decapitated.
It was that's all that was left, though, was the head, right? It was just a look. And then that was a partner's business. And then another company that I had was a consulting company. It was useless. It was me popping out on the road, pitching stuff, selling, very transactional. That one got pretty much here, cut in half. And anybody that was still doing business with me in 2010 was just they were beat up. So everything was decided on price. No contracts, so I had 2 of the 3 businesses. The third business was the real estate. In 2010, you couldn't move a piece of real estate. But the real estate that I had was cash flow real estate. It's all similar to what we buy today, just today's much bigger. Because one thing I realized in 2010 was the real estate that I owned, even though real estate was decimated worldwide, the real estate I owned got us through 2010.
Yeah.
And if it wouldn't have been for that, I'd have gone bankrupt. It got me through. Now at the same time, the old saying, when it rains, it pours, right? So I was trying to make a move. I knew I was doing something wrong, right? Between, probably 2004 and even 2001, even earlier, I was like, I'm doing something wrong here, man. I've been in business 20 years. I made some money. I had some money set aside, but I was always worried about the money. I had accumulated a little money. I wouldn't use it for marketing, wouldn't use it for branding, wouldn't use it to scale. I didn't trust that if I invested it, it would come back to me. So I was trying to hold on to it. I was doing what my parents had taught me, right? So I was very much in a trap. But then in 2001, I see all these companies blowing onto the internet and then folding. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. So I I'd have this idea to push, and then I'd get scared. Oh, I'm gonna get whacked.
And you were already kicking money into property at this stage?
Yeah, but not much. I think I owned 300 or 400 units.
Okay.
Now I had a moment where I had to like almost like detox off this easy way of doing business.
Okay, so then what did you do?
So now I'm like, okay, I had to sit down and figure out what have I done wrong here? I've done something wrong. Something's not working. It was when you finally hit bottom. You know, when I was 25, I hit bottom with the drug problem. And I hit bottom again. This time I hit bottom, but I had a little money now. It's a similar bottom. And now I'm like, okay, what am I addicted to? I was addicted to easy. I was lazy.
Yep.
I was doing the same thing over and over again. I wasn't recreating myself. I wasn't spending money on marketing. I wasn't learning about the internet and social media. At the same time, I had a lawsuit hit me from this fucking criminal. Same time a bank that I owed money to went under. The bank went under. I didn't go under, the bank did. But when the bank goes under, okay, and you're on the ship, man, the ship going under, everybody's gonna pay a price here. So all those things had me look at, hey, what do I have to do to scale? So like who survived 2010? The biggest companies on the planet.
Yep.
They didn't just survive, they prospered. And I'm like, that's who I need to become.
Thank you so much for watching till the end. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Please also like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and families. Please watch our other motivational videos. Thank you again.
And you want to know something? It fucking sucks that we have to go get our teeth cleaned at the dentist once a year, and that we can't just have good teeth without that. And it sucks that we have to monitor our diet to stay fit. And it sucks that we have to work hard to produce results. All that just fucking sucks. Why couldn't it be that, like, you know, you could just be kind of like born and you just kind of like have the money given to you and the girls given to you and like all this shit. You don't have to do any of this shit. Maybe someday in the future, this is not even inconceivable. We could have a future where with genetic engineering, you're just jacked. You're just fucking jacked. But that's not you. And it didn't happen yet. So until that is you, you have the other fate, which is you're gonna have to hustle. That's your fate. That's just how it is, okay? That's how it is. You're gonna have to actually apply yourself and challenge yourself. That's how it is. Because we're not genetically engineered yet. We don't have a utopian society yet where shit's just given to you.
Run, hike, sprint, climb, build things. Start building things. Rewire things. Do some plumbing. These things are not, they're not impossible to do. Now, it's going to take you longer, right? Like I've rewired my parts of my house. I've replumbed parts of my house, so done all the plumbing in parts of my house. Now, if you watch a skilled electrician do what I'm doing, it would literally take him 1/8 of the time, maybe 1/4 of the time, because, or like the drywaller we were talking about earlier. A good drywaller, they are like masters. A good electrician, masters. A good plumber, they're smooth. Me, it's going to take a while.
Sure.
So, but what I'm saying is it's not impossible.
Yeah.
It's not impossible to do. And it'll take you more time, but you're learning how to do it.
I don't care how good you are, I don't care how talented you are, I don't care how much you work on yourself. There are some times when things aren't going to go right. There are times when anything that can happen will happen.
I don't really like those words. Self-help or self-management or self-improvement. I don't really like what those words have come to mean these days. Because there's a lot of people out there that are constantly trying to improve themselves by looking for the one change. The one change, right? The one change in their life that's going to make their dreams come true. And even worse, on top of that, there's a lot of people out there, a lot of self-help gurus and these hyperactive motivational speakers and these other self-appointed modern Zen yoga warriors that they're trying to sell the one thing. They're trying to sell the 9 steps or the enlightened path that's going to allow you to unlock all of your human potential and fulfill the dreams so you can live the life that you've always wanted to live. Now, I'm no guru. And I definitely don't claim to be. I'm just a man. But I will tell you this. It isn't one thing. And it isn't 10 things. And it isn't 100 things. It isn't a quick path. And there are no shortcuts. Meditation won't get you there, and neither will a miracle drug or an organic supplement or some superfood. Getting better isn't a hack or a trick or a one change that you need to make. Getting better is a campaign. It's a campaign. It's a daily, a weekly, it's an hourly fight. An incessant fight that doesn't stop against weakness and against temptation and against laziness. It's a campaign of discipline. It's a campaign of hard work and dedication. It's waking up early and going to bed late and grinding out every second in between. Every single day. So, you want to get better? You want to self-improve? Stop looking for a shortcut and go find your alarm clock, and find your discipline, and find your guts and your passion and your drive, and find your will.
Grit, fortitude, self-esteem, confidence, the ability to endure. You have to earn these things, okay? We live in a world right now, like we've talked about on the past shows recently, that celebrates victimhood. It's a competition now about who has the biggest challenges, not who's overcome the biggest challenges. And I'm going to tell you right now, the world is going to reward people who overcome the challenges. You might get some claps. You might get some, oh man, that's so hard. You might get some of that shit, but it's not going to change your life. Okay. It's instant gratification shit. You are putting out information to then get instant gratification attention, which doesn't really serve you long term. So guys, understand that doing the opposite of what most people do is what's going to lead to most success in your life in general terms. So when you see everybody else working to make their life easier, more convenient, less frustrating, basically looking to cut all the hard things out of their life, look at the rest of their life. What is it? It's generally a shit show, okay? So that should be an indication to you that maybe you need to look at life a little bit different. And one of the things that I see people do is they don't understand that you should actually be seeking out the proper obstacles that are going to teach you the lesson and embrace them so that you can be better. Because, dude, we could talk about and whine about and cry about everything in our lives, but there's only one thing that's going to change it, and that's actually taking action towards the place that you want to go. And I don't care who says different. This is a universal truth, and it doesn't matter who's president, doesn't matter who's fucking won the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter. This is always going to be true. What you put in will produce the output. Okay. So when you see a situation that's difficult and you see a situation that, other people don't want to do, you should maybe be the person who steps up to that and says, dude, I'm willing to do that because I'll learn this. I'm willing to take on that because I'm willing to get this skill. I'm going to endure this adversity because I know it's going to make me stronger. All right. So look at these as an opportunity for you to grow as opposed to something that you should run away from because it's going to be difficult. This is something that champions and successful people who are great at what they do and live great lives that bring other people up do automatically. Okay.
That talent apart, hard work actually works. And with virtually everything, it might not make you the best at whatever it is you're pursuing, but it will certainly make you better than you are. And so it's fascinating to see that destiny in some sense is built right into the person to begin with. And so, well, this was built into you by all appearances. And so it manifested itself in what attracted you even in play as a child. And that's the beginning of identity formulation, that play.
It's happening to people, maybe not everyone, but a whole lot of people. Their commitment to success is weak. They want to succeed, they will take 3 steps, then something little interesting happens here, they will go away here, they'll go away there, they'll go away there. Hey, I want to live, huh? Their commitment to success is weak. Either situations around them in some way, situations can impede you from doing what you're doing very easily. Many times it happens to everyone. But when this happens, people weaken their commitment for their success. Maybe physically, they'll feel little weak, they will weaken their commitment to success. Maybe their emotions slosh around a little bit, they will weaken their commitment to success. This is very important right now. However long it takes, this virus, you must come out of this successfully. That means you must stay alive, that's an important part. And commitment to staying alive should not be slackened, no matter what happened. Somebody very dear to us passed away, all the more important we must live. People around us are all sick, all the more important we are healthy to take care of the people around us. So our commitment to success should not weaken because there is social drama going on or physiological drama or psychological drama, whatever happens, your commitment to success should not weaken. That is what gets you across so many lines in our life, so many barriers in our life. So, what does success look like? What does it take? You must understand, those who made any significant achievements in their life, they did not, I don't want to take any personal examples of anybody, I'm trying to avoid obvious things that are coming to my mind. Well, I know family and friends who always have their breakfast on time. And after breakfast, of course, they must have coffee. After coffee, of course, they must light up a cigarette and sit there nicely because they're trying to become peaceful. And then they will go to work, come back home exactly on time for lunch, eat lunch, rest for 1 or 2 hours, sleep, then evening have one tea and then smoke, and then again go to work. And 8 o'clock, 8:30, they're back home for dinner and then maybe other things, drink and this and that and whatever. Well, that's their priority. It's fine, I'm not complaining, it should not be that way. But those who have been very successful, either in music, sport, art, business, spiritual process, doesn't matter what, those people never know when they ate, when they slept, when they got afternoon rest. I've not seen such a thing in my life. So, those who are committed to being successful with whatever they're doing, one important aspect of their life is they're not settling down wherever it's a bit comfortable.
The enlightened person is traveling on a bus and I used to travel a lot on Greyhound buses in the past in the States and often you wonder at the next stop who is going to the next person going to sit next to you. It could be somebody pleasant, or it could be somebody drunk, or it could be somebody who talks continuously. So the enlightened person is sitting there, somebody comes in at the next stop and he's talking and talking and getting out his beer and drinking and getting more and more drunk and then starts bothering you. But there's a seat over there that's free. Does the enlightened person say, I'm enlightened, therefore I'm not going to change seats, because what is the need to change my life situation? I'm at peace already. It is true that deep down there is the peace, but on the outer levels, certain situations are preferable to other situations, and one seat may be preferable to another seat. And so it happened once or twice that I did that. I changed seats on the Greyhound bus so to get away from somebody next to me. But if the bus is full, then what do? You can't change seats, then you stay and be at peace with where you are, which is perfectly possible. So the changes can take place on the surface of your life. There may be one place where you would rather live than the other place, or you would rather travel to this location than to that one. That's all on the surface of your life. There are certain choices, and you make certain choices. If there is no choice, you're perfectly fine with there being no choice. The peace is there anyway. And on the outer levels, some things are more pleasant than others, and then I would choose the more pleasant one, but perhaps St. Francis would have chosen the unpleasant one. Maybe that's our difference. And maybe that's the difference between medieval spirituality and this. There's not one is better than the other, it's just different. But what matters is that at the core, the peace is there. And so I believe everybody, even the Buddha, must have made certain choices. He chose to go to that particular garden. Somebody had given him a pleasure garden, so he moved himself from the forest into the pleasure garden. Why did you go from the forest to the pleasure garden? Wasn't the forest good enough for you? Says the eagle. No, it's just on the surface. That seemed to make more sense and was more suitable, and he moved himself there. He would have been equally happy with the rest of his life in the forest. So that's quite simply how it is. So you're perfectly capable still of changing your life situation. If change is called for, why not?
When you're in peace, you're showing God that you trust Him. Anyone can stay in faith when everything's going our way. The test comes when the contract doesn't go through, when your child is off course, when the medical report is not good. It's easy to let the clutter in. No, be still. That's the time to show God that you trust Him, not just with your words, but with your actions. See, the enemy's main target is our mind. That's the control center for our life. If he can keep it cluttered, filled with doubt, what if it doesn't work out, Joel? What if my health doesn't improve? What if I don't meet the right person? As long as our mind is cluttered, it keeps God from turning it around. God works where there's faith. 2 Chronicles 32, the king of Syria had a huge army. They had invaded that whole region, conquering all these large fortified cities by tearing down the walls and capturing the people. The city of Jerusalem was next in line. Word quickly spread throughout the Israelite camp. The people began to panic, so worried, thinking, what are we going to do? They're so much bigger than us. King Hezekiah said to the Israelites in verse 7, don't be afraid of this mighty army, for there is a power far greater on our side. They may have a great army, but they are just men. We have the Lord our God to fight our battles for us. When you face big enemies, big oppositions, you have to remind yourself our God is bigger than the cancer. He's bigger than the addiction. He's bigger than the people that are trying to stop you. The way to stay in faith is don't talk about how big the problem is, talk about how big your God is. He flung stars into space. He spoke worlds into existence. He healed my mother of terminal cancer. He gave us the Compact Center. The good news is, right now, He's breathing in your direction. He's pushing back forces of darkness. He's lining up the brakes that you need. Don't let fear clutter your mind. Don't let doubt keep you from your miracle. Don't let people talk you out of your dreams. The king of Syria sent a letter to the Israelites threatening them. It said, we've conquered all these cities, we've captured all these people, none of their gods saved them. What makes you think your God is going to save you? The enemy will always try to defeat you first in your thoughts. Things like you'll never get well. Your grandmother died of the same thing. You'll never break the addiction. That problem will never turn around. Don't believe those lies. He wouldn't be telling you that unless he knew it was on the way. Do like Hezekiah. Yes, this problem may be big, but I know a secret. My God is much bigger.
I want to encourage somebody out there who's thinking about quitting and giving up, somebody who has been praying for years for things to turn around. You're thinking about quitting, you're thinking about giving up, you are caving in. This is for you.
I'm in a fight for my life. I'm in a fight to be a man. I'm in a fight to be a father. I'm in a fight to be a mama. Something in me wants to quit it and walk away. I'm in a fight. Give me somebody to hit it.
You need to change your mind because some of you are thinking about giving up because you're in a season of failure. But just because you failed doesn't mean that God doesn't have a bright future in store for you. It is always too soon to quit.
He wants you to give up and think nothing can grow there. The devil is a lie. The darkness is not real.
This is not the time to throw in the towel. This is not the time to give up. It's the time to trust God more, to dig in deeper.
The joy is not in the success. The joy is in trying. The joy is in the process. That I'm going to keep working. I'm going to keep going at it. See, failure is forming my future. Failure is just another peg in the ladder for me to go higher. I don't want to just know how to make it work. I want to know why it doesn't work. And the only way I can find that out is I got to fall on my face. But guess what? The righteous man falls 7 times, but he gets back up.
Everybody has something that strikes terror in them to do it. Whatever you got hurt at, whatever you got damaged in, it's the thing that you struggle to do. Those strongholds come against you every time you try to move outside of your little prison. And people think you are angry, but the anger is the fruit. The root is the fear. Most angry people are scared. Pull it by the root. Strongholds, casting down imaginations, envisioning self-destruction, the enemy terrorizing you with what he might do.
When I'm discouraged, I need somebody to come alongside me to encourage me that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. That kind of talk wakes up my faith. It stirs my faith to know that no matter how dark my situation, God can work it out.
I'm telling you, it's possible to be weak. It's possible to feel overwhelmed, outnumbered, out-resourced. It's possible to feel discouraged. It's possible to be going through something that you've never gone through. And if you were to be honest, would say, I am weak this day, yet I'm still anointed king.
You have to make a decision that I will learn from this thing. I've resolved in my spirit that every experience is my education. So the good experiences and the bad experiences, I'm going to learn from that, and I'm going to discover the opportunity for me to grow and for me to get better. I'm telling you, I've already made up my mind that I know I will fall down. I know that I will stumble, but I already see myself getting back up. Therefore, I'm never down. I'm either up or getting back up. I'm going to learn.
Sooner or later, you're going to end up with just you and God and your dream and your pain, and you're going to be the one that's going to have to decide if you're going to go through or if you're going to give up.
You got to go through some things in order for you to get faith. You've got to have some life experiences under your belt so you can talk about how strong your faith is. Because if your faith has never been tested, you can't brag on how strong it is.
Anxiety, it makes us feel out of control, and we're trying to put things in order. And so often the very thing that we're afraid of, it's not even as bad as fear itself. Fear is always false evidence appearing real. And when you abide in fear, you're gonna always be running for your life. That's why we're the people of God, and we focus on our faith, because our faith always leads us to life, and life more abundantly.
Somebody needs to know today you're gonna make it. Somebody needs to know today you're doing all right. You may not be what you ought to be, but you're not what you used to be. And you're gonna get there by God's grace. Don't you give up, don't you quit, and don't you keep putting yourself down. You're doing better than you think you are.
Yet what I'm learning more and more in life is that it's fear that causes anxiety. The other side of the coin from depression is always anxiety. Anxiety has this ability to stretch your soul thin, and you feel out of control. Depression, on the other hand, is when you feel like your life is being constricted inward and darkness is enveloping over you. Typically, if you have any level of anxiety, depression will follow. If you have depression, anxiety is right around the corner. Having anxiety and depression is like being scared and tired at the same time. It's the fear of failure, but no urge to be productive. It's wanting friends, but hate socializing. It's wanting to be alone, but not wanting to be lonely. It's feeling everything at once, then feeling paralyzing numb.
What story do I want to tell later down the road? See, every stage in our life becomes a story. At some point, you will end up telling it. We have to remember that the decisions that we make today will be a part of our life story tomorrow. So as you're making the decision, you got to ask yourself, what story do I want to tell a little bit later down the road? And if what you're doing does not line up with what you think you want to tell a little bit later, then you might want to rethink what you are doing.
I just want to tell you, don't let this chapter that you're going through make you in your story. Don't let depression lie to you and tell you that you're not enough, that tells you that there's no more better days, that tells you that your best days are behind you, that tells you you're a nobody, that tells you that you're better off dead. Don't let it lie to you, because it's been lying to you so long that you're starting to believe that's true. You're starting to live that out.
Good intentions are worthless. Worthless, folks. When are you going to fall out of love with good intentions? Good intentions are worthless unless they lead to good actions. Nobody ever had their life changed by somebody hoping, thinking. Good intentions are not enough.
Because there are some things in your life that you are not ready to turn loose. There are some sins you're not ready to get rid of. There are some issues and some hang-ups that is stunting your spiritual growth. You can't be all God wants you to be with some stuff you're still hiding.
It's time for you to dig up all those seeds of doubt, all those seeds of lies. And at this moment, replace those seeds with seeds of faith. And how you do that is just simply this. How you fight your depression is just simply this. You tell yourself, yeah, I'm going through this, but at least I'm not dead. Find a way to find appreciation. Somebody has it worse. Somebody wants your life as bad as you think that it is. Somebody's praying to be in your shoes, and you're still here. So I want you to keep fighting. You find any reason to survive right now, to make it to see tomorrow.
That drive and that attitude of never quit, it's a powerful force, and it does push you over the edge to victory in many cases. But over that attitude, you have to layer something on top of that. It's basically strategic vision and understanding of the battlefield as a whole. So you absolutely need to know when you got to stop beating your head against the wall. You got to know that.
You're doing the best you can, but you put one foot forward and 2 steps are made back. You're trying, but things don't seem to be quite working out the way you planned. You thought you'd be in a different place at this season in your life. You're doing everything right, but you're still suffering.
You got to do battle with your own indifference. Boy, it's easy to coast, especially if you've accomplished something, extraordinary now. Somebody says, I got to relax. Here's the key, not too long. You got to make those decisions. The ones that don't turn out to be good gives you experience to make better decisions. Don't let much time go by without making some decisions. The ones that you can make quickly, make them quickly. The ones that take time, take your time. Don't let indecision be an enemy, rob you of the future, empty your bank account. Don't let that happen.
Now, I know that sounds boring, stupid, basic, but it's the truth. The only thing that changes our life long term is when we raise our standards. What does that mean? That sounds so boring and dumb. It means that all of us in life have things we want. We don't get what we want. We get what we have to have. Remember I said earlier, we all get what we tolerate in ourselves and other people. But when you're no longer willing to tolerate something, that's when your life changes. The difference in people is their standards, period.
If you want to begin to really enjoy a happy, successful, healthy life, you've got to be willing to go against the tide. You've got to be willing to harness your will and say, in spite of this, I'm in control here. I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm not going to let this destroy me. I'm coming back, and I'll be stronger and better because of it. You have got to make a declaration that this is what you stand for. You're standing up for your dreams. You're standing up for peace of mind. You're standing up for health. You want it, and you're going to go all out to have it. Expect things to get better for you, because they are. See, life is cyclic. You're not, whatever experience you're having right now, it has not come to stay. It has come to pass. Not to stay, just to pass. It's just going through. The biggest challenge is to know what's happening. This is a part of this thing we call life. This too shall pass. And maintaining perspective, putting it in perspective.
There's so much knowledge out there, so much information, so many ways to get better. And we make so many mistakes. We're the product of our mistakes. And oftentimes the lesson is sitting there right in front of our face. It's there to be learned, but we miss it, or we don't pay attention to it, or we think we know better until it punches us in the face. And the most important thing to learn is that we have so much to learn. We all do. And we can learn from school and from people and from experience, and we learn from life. You have to process the information. You have to absorb it. You have to accept it. You have to open your mind. You gotta free your mind so that you can learn and make real progress. And as far as regrets and things I wish I would have done differently, of course, who wouldn't want to take another go at something and improve on the first try by doing it again? And then why not do it again and again and again? And why not just do it over and over again until you have it perfect? But the fact is, you don't get that chance. You get one shot at this gig right here, life.